Hi, Danny.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Are you looking forward to your class and exploring?
I am, yes. It's been a while since I've taught a new class, and I have had a lot of ideas percolating around in my head, so I'm excited to get them out there and to see how people react to them.
Yes, I can't wait either. And looking forward to do my homework for class because I'm not teaching it.
I know that's too bad.
Yeah, well, I will be a student again, and we'll be sharing other stuff during the course. But maybe you can share a little bit about your class because I'm curious. What is it about? What are you teaching?
Well, I like to think about creativity. I like to think about it kind of as almost like a topic, like a philosophy, and I think that what we try to do at Sketchbook School goes so far beyond just like teaching people to draw, and a lot of it is about just teaching people to think of themselves as creative. And when you do that, there are all kinds of issues that come up. I mean, part of them are psychological, but like there really isn't um, like a school of learning about creativity. There are like more and more books that are coming out, which is great. But nobody's like, when you go to university, they don't teach you. You can't major in creativity. There aren't really lectures about creativity, and so I'm kind of self-taught about it, but I like to think about those issues, and I've written about them on my blog for a long time, and I've written about them in my books. So what I want to do is really to try and focus on some of those topics because I think that they're important, and also to think about like how to present them as videos, so it isn't just me droning on looking at the camera, but that it's a bit more engaging than that. So that's kind of what it is. Yeah.
Sounds like reading one of your books, but then like 3.0 or something.
Exactly. It's like me reading to you out of one of my books, but hopefully more interesting than that. So,
It sounds good, yeah. And we do a demo as well.
well, the other thing that I also have been thinking about is the whole way of like going from a contour drawing to representing reality, and thinking about what a thing is made out of that you're drawing, the texture, the material, and also how to, represent lighting, how to represent the volume, all those kinds of things, which in a way are sort of the next step after the class that I taught most recently, which is how to draw without talent. And how to draw without talent, really, I kind of ignored all those things or stayed away from them. And I just said, let's focus on contour drawing, on just like how do you represent the shape of what's in front of you. But this is like the next step, which is like, well, okay, now that you can draw something, you can draw the elements of it. How do you make it look like that thing? And a lot of people ask me about that when I have done How to Draw Without Talent. And I said, like, let's wait. So the waiting is over. We're going to talk about that. And it's something that a couple of teachers have focused on before. Tommy Kane did a demo in beginning on that. France did one as well. But I think that I wanted to just like break it down and just say, like, let's really understand what is it we're doing. Let's look at how light really affects things and how it changes not only the representation of the thing you're looking at, but also the emotion. Like you can think about the way you might see something in a movie. The lighting can change it, so it can be scary, it can be romantic, it can be clinical. And so I wanted to explore that and just think about light. It's not super technical. It's not like really scary, I think. It's just kind of common sense. And once you understand some of these rules, it'll really help you to make your own decisions. I mean, I know you know all about this, Koosje, but I think it's something that is great to just kind of lay out. Like here's a lesson on it. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
this is what exploring to me is. This course is like just exploring. Like here I am teaching two completely different things, but I think that that's what's going to be interesting about this class overall is just all the crazy stuff that people are going to explore.
I agree that light and shadow and lighting, I mean, that's what I used to love when I worked as a photographer. Like how much you can influence your image using light. So it can get you can give really dramatic effects or a very flat lighting, which would be great for portraits. And also it will be fantastic to combine actually with Felix's class, who is talking about composition and layout. So all those elements, exploring all those elements apart from each other, will actually compile into a whole knowledge base, which you can use in your sketchbook. So I think that's really great to go a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, I think photography is just a really interesting thing to think about. I often talk about how I don't think it's great to draw from photographs, or how I think that it's more limiting, but I think there's still a lot we can learn from photography, from great painters, from Rembrandt, from all different kinds of ways in which you go beyond what the subject is and how you represent the subject and how that changes the emotions of what you're doing. One of the things I do in this class, which is a bit different, is I have a sketchbook tour, where I take you through my sketchbook. But what I did is I hopped around to a bunch of different sketchbooks to show different examples of how I create tone and volume, and to really like talk probably at too much length, because that's my problem. But just to explain how to look at a drawing and how to really learn something from it. And I think that that's important. It's not to just go like, oh my God, look at how good that is, but to say like, what is it about that's good? What is it about that I could take from that and apply it? So I'm trying to show how, maybe you can do that looking at some of my stuff, but also looking at even more important artists than me and take away stuff from them.
Yes, and even from your own sketchbook. Even if you think, oh, I hate this page, you can really learn from that. Why do you hate it? What's wrong about it? How can you not do that again, So
yeah, I think it's also interesting just to look back at your own work. For me personally, like you look back and you go, oh yeah, I discover something about myself when I'm looking at it. Not necessarily just bad things, but also like, oh, here's an interesting aspect to this drawing. I wonder if I can apply that more broadly and more consciously. So it's all good.
So speaking of exploring, are there any things that you'd like to explore next? New tools you want to learn, or something totally different you want to add to your skills?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I feel like my fountain pen thing. This is my fountain pen right now, which, as you can see, is bleeding, and as you can,
hey.
Yeah. So there's stuff to learn about fountain pens. Similarly with the dip pen, dip pen to me is like an always interesting lesson, and I've been looking at a lot of 19th century artists who use a dip pen. Then they have a quality of line that you just don't see anymore today, and they also understand how to use hatching in a much more sophisticated way, because they used to have to do it for reproduction. So you had to do engraving and things like that. And that's really a lost art, but there's a huge amount to learn from that. So I'm interested in it. I've been doing a lot of journaling recently, and, I feel like, well, here's an interesting thing. I was watching, not to digress too much, but I was watching my favorite TV show, which is called Chef's Table on Netflix. I often write about it. And they did one episode that was about a woman who's a Korean monk, and she works in a monastery. She just makes food there. But they were talking a lot about the art of meditation when you're cooking. And I realized that, like, when I first started drawing, that was really so much of my focus, was the meditative aspect of drawing, and just sitting and contemplating something and really connecting with it. And I feel like I've lost that discipline a bit, and I want to get back to it. That's sort of what Art Before Breakfast was too. But it's easy to like get caught up in the technical aspects of drawing and lose that meditative thing. So I want to increasingly try and get back to that focus.
Yeah, and every time I get back to that analogy of cooking and drawing, because cooking, people do baking just as sort of a therapy, just to get their thoughts away from other stuff and to make something that's also delicious. And I think that's also what happens when you're drawing. You just go to another place somehow, and then even the result doesn't matter that much. It's really about the sitting down and taking the time for yourself, I think.
And also taking risks. I mean, I feel with cooking, Like last night we made these clams, and I'd never really baked clams before. They were completely a pain. So awful to work with. They were terrible. I don't really like eating them. It was just like one bad thing after another. But in the end, I'm glad that I did it. It was really a struggle. I burned myself badly a few times. Uh, but I think, again, to me, the analogy of drawing, of like, sometimes you have to go deep into something you don't know anything about. You have to try something you think you're not going to like, and sometimes, even though it's a disaster, you learn an awful lot and you feel more powerful, more, I don't know. To me, mistakes, as I said a million times before, are like really the greatest experience, is the best learning, because then you go, oh, I'm capable of something I didn't think I was capable, or even I'm incapable of it, but at least I took that risk.
So, exploring, it's almost starting. And I'm really excited because it's going to be another community course, and we have had so much feedback from our students about plans that we had and things we thought they wanted, and turned out they didn't want that at all. So I feel like we have a course now that is completely fit for what sketchbook school students love.
Right, and we also have so many people who people asked us to bring in, like Nina and Lynn, and bringing back Felix. I mean, Felix is there's so much to learn from him, and he's such a great teacher. So I think, and also someone like Brian, who's going to be doing something that's completely wild that we've never done before. I mean, I've talked to him recently about it. I mean, just to see a guy do a giant painting standing on top of a 30-foot ladder for 2 days, you just got to see it, and you'll learn so much from it. Exploring is us getting back to a lot of the roots of sketchbook school. We're doing exploring of our own, and we have so many exciting things coming up, and this is just like the beginning of it, so it's really cool.
So do you have any advice or tips, or do you think people need to prepare for your class in some way?
Absolutely. I would say, try and do as much exercising as you can. Try and make sure that your cardiovascular fitness is good. Make sure that you're eating well, getting a lot of protein. And no, I think ultimately from my class, what I want is I want to learn from the students, really, because the issues that I'm talking about with creativity are things that affect us all, and I want us to really have a healthy discussion about it. And then also, the lessons that I'm teaching about hatching and toning are things that are going to take some time to get really good at. So I think that the exchange back and forth between us is going to be really great. And one of the things that I'm excited about with exploring is, for the first time, our question and answer portion is going to be live. So that's something we've never done before. In the past, we've always people put up questions, and then you come back and you write the answers, and you hope you've answered the question. You don't really know. But I think now it's going to be a chance for people to come on, ask their questions, or post them in advance, and for the teachers to really get to talk and even demonstrate, hold up your sketchbook and show what you're talking about. That kind of thing, I think, will be really, really great. It really will help people to learn and to feel more part of things. So that's going to be super.
It's one of the results of our explorations that we want to do those live sessions. And I think that's going to be really great and a lot of fun, add a lot of fun. And now that we are moved to that new course platform, we can also start a new and much better student union. And that's also going to be released along with the course. Do you want to share a little bit about that as well?
Yeah. So the student union, was a popular part of our old platform, and we were looking for ways to create it unteachable, and I think we figured it out. And the student union isn't going to it's going to be a place where people can gather and message each other and talk to each other, share ideas. But also, I think it's an opportunity for us to share a lot of information that's outside of the classes. So to take, to add tips and reviews and other videos that we've made, and to have them all in one place, free for anybody who is even signed up for a free class at Sketchbook School. So it's going to be a really great resource that we have never been able to present in one way, in one place. Student Union is going to be bigger and better than ever, easier to use. I can't wait to get that going too. That's going to happen really soon.
Me neither. I'm really happy about that too. So we're in good shape, and really looking forward to see you in class.
Same here. See you in class.
Bye.
Bye-bye.